Alright, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto, Coffee and LoFi. I just want to run through a quick top-down analysis so you guys can see kind of what my mid to higher time frame views are. So let's go on to the H4. Essentially, what I'm thinking happens, I'm looking for a short here on the lower time frames, but what I'm thinking happens is that we get a retest of this level right here, just below 40k, or even sweeping out these lows. We do have FOMC minutes coming up, late New York or early Asia, which generally does bring some volatility. So let's see if we can get a volatile move into our levels here. So if you are new here, I am just using the same pattern to find accumulation, distribution, support, resistance, and then I'm using that same pattern again as an entry trigger. So essentially I'll wait for price to revisit the area of accumulation or distribution. Then once we revisit that area, I then look for the clues that price is actually reaccumulating. So what does accumulation look like? To me, essentially, it's just a sweep of a level that is then followed by a break in structure. So you can see we swept out this low, then breaking above this high right here. So that's the first sign that price is accumulating. I then look for the sign that price is reaccumulating and that buyers are in fact stepping in at these levels. So sweeping out these lows right here, then breaking above the high. Since this big move up, we're yet to retest this level here. So I'm thinking this is the next destination for price, but obviously I could be wrong. So I think taking a look at this area of price action here, I would not be surprised if we get a retest of 50k. So if my short bias gets invalidated here and we get some lower time frame accumulation, I then will look to just jump back into longs. But I'll go over that here in a sec. So the most ideal situation for me to jump into swing longs would be reaccumulation below these lows or around 39k. If we get that reaccumulation, so something like this, I will enter high risk longs on the H4, targeting 50k. Alright, so that's my game plan for the H4. Yeah, so if you are new here, I basically am just a levels trader. So I just mark out the levels and wait for the reaction. Once I see the reaction, I target the other side of the range. So in this case, I wait for the bearish reaction. If I get that bearish reaction, I get my trigger. I then target the previous side of the range where the previous levels of accumulation lie. So sweeping out this low, breaking above the high that was responsible for taking the low. This is the first sign of accumulation. Sweeping out these lows, then breaking above the high that was responsible for taking those lows. Since this move up, we haven't yet retested this level either. So I'm thinking going into London, we do get a retest of this level. This is what the entry trigger will look like on the M15. So you can see, if I'm going over everything too quickly here, feel free to click, feel free to go to my first videos. I have a bunch of tutorials there that explain everything in a lot more detail. And then there's a link in the description below. You can get the full strategy as well. So sweeping out a high, breaking below the low is responsible for taking that high. And then a few hours ago, we took out the previous day's high, retesting that low perfectly. Coincidence? All right, now I'm looking for an entry around London Open. It's no coincidence that price comes back and tests these levels perfectly. If you want to know my theory on why that happens, I'll actually leave a link in the description where I talk about manipulation and how orders are mitigated to efficiently manipulate price and efficiently allow larger players to enter the market. But for now, just try not to overcomplicate things and ramble. So you can see we swept out the previous day's high, then breaking below that low. If we can get something like this, so a break above this high, followed by some redistribution, then I'll look to get short right here, just targeting our level around 43k. However, All right. You can see we've also just swept out these lows. So you keep in mind that the structure is still bullish. We haven't yet had enough confirmation to suggest that we're about to shift to the downside. Let me just fucking... Alright, so if we get the break above, followed by some reaccumulation, then I'll actually look to get long, just targeting this high here. Because if we do see reaccumulation this close to the top of the range, rather than distribution, it would suggest that we're just going to take key highs and head further up. So I am leaning short. If I do get a short entry there, I will take it. So let's say I get the short entry, we come down and we revisit 43k and we fail to reaccumulate, so we don't get that pattern, then I think that we head much lower down into my higher time frame bullish levels. So we'll just have to wait and see. This is the game plan. I don't get married to a bias. I'm not stuck on being bullish or stuck on being bearish. I prefer to mark out my levels and just trade the chart as it prints. So I don't care what Bitcoin does. I don't care what Ethereum does. I do have some higher time frame positions and some spot positions, so I would prefer it to go up, but I will make money on the way down regardless, and I am a lower time frame trader as well, so just keeping that in mind. ETH is a similar story here too. We haven't retested this area of accumulation, so taking out that low, breaking above the high, taking out this low right here, and breaking above the high. So we're yet to retest this level. If we get a break in structure, so you can see we swept out that high, breaking below the low, sweeping out the previous day's high. If we get that break below, then the best thing to do would be to look for shorts into this level, below these lows, or even further down into this range here. But we'll just have to wait and see. For now, the structure is still leaning slightly bullish. So if we get something like this, fucking hell. I love doing this shit, hey. Oh my god. Alright, so sweeping out the low. If we get a break above the high, and then we get some reaccumulation, then that would suggest that the market is going to continue up. And obviously looking at Bitcoin there as well, making sure that it's printing a similar pattern. I am already in a short on Atom, however. So again, this is really simple. Sweeping out a high, breaking above the low, sweeping out a high, breaking below the low. So that was my entry trigger. I entered an hour ago. Now, one part of the strategy is obviously looking for the pattern, looking for price accumulating or distributing. Then once you see the price is accumulating or distributing, you then need to make sure that there's an obvious objective for it to be heading towards. So for me, we have these equal lows sitting below here, suggesting that there's liquidity resting below these lows. Now, obviously I could get stopped out and I could be wrong, but the whole idea is just play statistics. I've back tested, I've collected the data, I know the strategy works, so I should just enter the positions. So I'm already short here. Let's see what happens. Yes, so I think I'm going to cut it there. If you are interested in the way I'm charting here, you can click the link in the description below and pick up a copy of the strategy. We also have the easy in easy out indicator as well, which one for one replicates my manual strategy. So if you really don't want to go and learn where the best spots are to draw out these patterns, the indicator does that all for you. It gives you entries, exits, and entry, your stop loss, and targets as well. And that is all automated. So try not to overcomplicate anything. If we get distribution up above this little high right here, then I'll look to short into 43k. If we fail to get the distribution, then I will look for reaccumulation, where I'll then look to long into 46k and possibly all the way up into 50k. We have FOMC minutes coming up later on in the session, so hopefully that brings some volatility. We'll have to see what the lower time frames look around then. No worries, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you on Friday.